Level 1. The accident. You weren't looking for this. You're 23. You do freelance penetration testing. Companies hire you to break into their own systems and show them where the holes are. Legal, boring, mostly. The kind of work that pays okay and keeps you out of trouble. It's 2 a.m. You're 3 energy drinks deep, working a contract for a logistics company in Ohio. You're probing their third-party vendor network. Standard stuff. One of the vendors has a misconfigured server, open port, weak credentials, the digital equivalent of leaving a window unlocked. You go in. You document it. You're about to close the connection when you notice something. The server isn't just connected to the logistics company, it's connected to something else. A routing address that doesn't belong to any commercial network you recognize. The subnet is wrong. The traffic patterns are wrong. You ping it out of habit. It responds. You tell yourself you'll just look. 1 minute, just to see. That was your first mistake, not the last. Level 2. The rabbit hole. The server isn't empty. There are files, thousands of them. Most are encrypted with a standard you don't recognize, but some aren't. Some are sitting in plain text, either because whoever manages this got lazy or because they never expected anyone to find this path in. You read one, then another. You're not sure what you're reading at first. Operational logs, location data, names attached to numbers attached to dates. Some of the dates are recent. Some of the names appear in news articles you can find with a basic search. Not famous names, not politicians, people who died, accidents mostly, a car crash in Belgium, a journalist in Mexico, a banker in Singapore, all within the last 18 months. The logs connect them, their locations, their communications, their last movements, documented before the incidents, not after. You've been in the server for 4 hours. You didn't notice. Your hands are shaking. You tell yourself there's an explanation. You're a hacker, not a conspiracy theorist. But you copy the files anyway. Instinct. Or the small voice in the back of your head that says this matters. You disconnect. You go to sleep. You don't actually sleep. Level 3. The realization. You spend 3 days reading. Air-gapped laptop. No internet. You print nothing. You tell no one. You piece together what you have. The files describe an operation. No agency name. No country explicitly stated. But the infrastructure, the server locations, the routing, the naming conventions, points to a signals intelligence network. American, most likely. Possibly a joint operation with allied governments. You're not a national security expert, but you've done enough government contract work to recognize the fingerprints. What the files describe isn't surveillance. Surveillance is passive. This is active, targeted, coordinated. The people in these files weren't being watched. They were being managed. And when managing stopped working, something else happened. You count 14 names across the files you can access. 14 people whose deaths, according to public record, were accidents or suicides or natural causes. 14 people who appear in these logs in the days and weeks before they died. You close the laptop. You sit in the dark. You are 23 years old, and you have accidentally found evidence of what might be the most illegal thing a government can do to its own people. You have no idea what to do. But somewhere, right now, someone has noticed your connection. Level 4. The mistake. You're not a journalist. You're not a lawyer. You're a freelance pen tester who found something he wasn't supposed to find. And now you're making decisions you're not qualified to make. You reach out to someone, a former colleague who now works in cybersecurity policy. You don't send files. You don't name the server. You describe what you found in general terms over an encrypted messaging app. Hypothetically, you say, "Walk me through the protocol here." He goes quiet for 40 minutes. Then he sends one message: "Delete everything and don't contact me again." 2 hours later, his account is deactivated. You stare at the screen. Encrypted messaging apps aren't as encrypted as people think when the people looking are the people who helped write the encryption standards. You have 12 hours. Maybe less. You don't know this with certainty, but you feel it. The same instinct that made you copy those files. You pack a bag. You pull $800 from the ATM. You leave your phone on the kitchen counter. You walk out. Level 5. The hunt. You don't see it, but you can piece it together later. They pull your ISP records first. They map every connection you made that night. They trace the path back through the vendor network to your VPN exit node. Your VPN isn't perfect. Nothing is perfect. Within 24 hours, they have a short list. Your name is on it. They're not panicking. Organizations like this don't panic. They're methodical. They freeze your financial accounts. They contact your clients. They pull your tax records, your lease, your vehicle registration. They map your social graph. Every person you've called or emailed in the last 5 years. They find the message you sent your former colleague. They already had his phone. That's why he went quiet. He was in a room with someone telling him exactly what to type back. They know you left. They know you took cash. They know you don't have your phone. They know you understood what you found. That matters to them. A confused person who stumbled onto something and didn't understand it is manageable. Someone who understood it and ran is a different problem entirely. They have your face, they have your habits, they have your history. You have $800 and a duffel bag. Level 6, the Disappearing Act. You've read enough to know the basics. No credit cards, no family contact, no familiar places, no patterns. The problem is, you've read about this. You've never done it. There's a difference. You take buses. You pay cash. You stay in motels that don't ask for ID. You sleep 4 hours a night and spend the rest thinking 3 steps ahead of people who do this professionally. You think about the files, 2 copies, one on the air-gapped laptop still at your apartment, which they have now, one on a USB drive in your jacket. That drive is the only leverage you have. It's also the only reason you might not end up in the same logs as the 14 names. You start writing everything you remember, every detail, longhand in a notebook from a gas station. You address it to 3 journalists, people with track records of protecting sources. You find a post office in a town you've never visited. You mail all 3. You keep the USB. Now you wait. Level 7, the corner. They find you on day 11, not because you made a mistake, because they were patient and had more resources than you had options. A motel clerk outside Columbus ran your description against a database she didn't know she was connected to. You were gone by the time anyone arrived, but you'd used the motel's Wi-Fi for 4 minutes to check a news site. That was enough. They get ahead of you. You walk into a gas station in Indiana, and 2 men are already inside who aren't buying anything. You know immediately the way they're standing, the way they clocked you the second you walked through the door. You don't run. Running confirms everything and ends badly. You buy water. You walk out. They follow. A man in a gray jacket is leaning against a black SUV. He shows a credential. Federal. No agency name visible. He says your name. He says, "We'd like to talk." You say, "I already mailed the letters." He doesn't react. That means he already knew, or he's very good at not reacting. Either way, the calculation just changed. Level 8, the deal. The room is not a police station. It's a conference room in a building that looks like an insurance office. There's a lawyer present they describe as being there for your benefit. You don't trust her. You don't say that. They explain your situation calmly. Unauthorized access, data theft, federal computer fraud, potentially more. The kind of calm that comes from having done this before. You explain yours, the files, the 14 names, the deaths. You tell them it's documented and in the hands of 3 journalists who haven't published yet, but will if they don't hear from you by a specific date. The man in the gray jacket is quiet for a long time. Then, what do you want? You hadn't planned an answer. You'd only planned to survive long enough to be asked it. Immunity. The files reviewed by an independent body. You walk out. He makes some calls. You sit alone for 2 hours with bad coffee and 14 names running through your head. He comes back. Document on the table. This is what they can offer. Not everything you asked for. The files won't be made public. The cases won't be reviewed openly. But you won't be charged. You won't disappear. You sign a non-disclosure agreement. You hand over the USB. You think about the journalist in Mexico, the banker in Singapore, the car crash in Belgium. You sign. You walk out. Level 9, the aftermath. 6 months later, you're in a different city under your own name, because that was part of the agreement. New clients, freelance work, energy drinks at 2 a.m. You never hear from the journalists. Either they never received the letters, or they received them and made a calculation you don't want to think about too hard. The 14 files are gone. No copies, no proof, nothing but memory. You go back to finding vulnerabilities in corporate systems and writing reports about them. You invoice your clients. You don't probe anything that doesn't belong to you. But some nights, at 2 a.m., staring at network traffic, you think about that open port, that responding ping, that one moment before you clicked in. You wonder what would have happened if you just documented the misconfigured server and moved on. You'll never know. Neither will anyone else.